Dolphins, Patriots, Dolphin fans, Patriot fans, welcome to Dolphins Post Game. Week 2 is in the books, and Dolphins Post Game starts right now. Let's go. Fins up.
Welcome to Sports for Beginners. This is the show where I cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Blue Jays, and take you on a journey through the world of sports. From the fans' perspective, here is your host, Scott McGregor. Let's have some fun.
Hello, everyone. Welcome into Dolphins Post Game on the ice and behind the benches and Sports for Beginners. I am your host, Thomas McGregor, but please call me Thomas. Be sure to look me up on Facebook's Sports for Beginners Facebook page, and of course our own Facebook page. Another week bites the dust, and again, it's no surprise to some of us, but the Dolphins lose another week. It looks like a club dub would have been the talking point in this ball game. Mike McDaniel is the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. He is the head coach, and of course, he'll go head-to-head against Mike V, the head coach of the New England Patriots, who were usually coached by Bill Belichick. Now, obviously, Bill Belichick is not the head coach of the Patriots anymore, and neither is any of his quarterbacks, like Tom Brady, the great one, otherwise known as the greatest NFL player of all time in Patriots world. But we're not here to talk about the greatest of all time, Tom Brady. We're not here to talk about him. We're here to talk about the New England Patriots in the here and the now against the Miami Dolphins in the here and the now. Now, if you all recall, Week 1's matchup for the Miami Dolphins was a bit of a head scratcher. And, well, because the Dolphins had a fumble of an opening week in which they lost 33-8 over the Indianapolis Colts. We'll talk about the Indianapolis Colts, I'm sure, throughout the course of this program. However, the Patriots, not too bright for themselves either to start the season. They lose their opener to the Las Vegas Raiders by a score of 20-13. So both teams enter this contest 0-1 on the season. Now we all know that they're 0-1, but only one team can become 1-1 when they're against each other in such an AFC East showdown like this one. Now give it credit. It looks like the Patriots put up a little bit of effort in the first game of their NFL season. However, the Dolphins, well, Dolphins fans, you know how we felt about Week 1. They gave some effort, but in reality, they failed. They lost that game. Did they lose this game? Maybe. Maybe not. Let's take a look at how it went down. It's Patriots, it's Miami, it's Tua versus Drake. They are the quarterback matchup for you, Tua versus Drake. And while things seem a little bit fun for us all to look at, let's take a look at how both teams did really in this game and start with our score drives. Start with the score drives. And of course, final score that we'll learn about is the Patriots in front. They do go to 1-1 on the season as they beat the Dolphins 33-27. How did they do it? Time now for our scoring breakdown. And that, of course, looks like this. First and foremost, before we do that, the last time the Dolphins faced the Patriots, they beat the Patriots 4-15. And of course, I believe that was the last season preview matchup. I believe that was the last season previewed matchup from last season. It was a previous matchup, so they did beat the Patriots 30-15 from last season. Anywho, let's get down to it as we have a lot to cover here on the show. Let's get right down to it. It takes just 68 yards to score the first touchdown in this ball game for the Patriots. They go up 6-0 early over the Dolphins. However, their kicker, who would kick the extra point in a B, Andres B. I'll go with Andres B because Andres, I could say his first name. I can't say his last name. As he would put the kick up, it is up, but it is no good. It is no good. So the Dolphins would remain down 6-0. The next play in the first quarter, this one for 75 yards in just 13 plays. And the Patriots are now up 12-0. But again, just like Andre's previous play for the extra point, he misses a field goal opportunity on the extra point. So the Dolphins found themselves down early 6-0. And now coming into the second quarter, they are down 12-0. The Patriots have a 12-point lead over the Miami Dolphins. Flash forward to the second quarter of the first half, and in just 10 plays for 83 yards, Tua and the Dolphins get on the board and throw a shotgun pass to the Penguin. Waddle, waddle, waddle. Jalen Waddle is in the building for a Dolphins touchdown. Dolphins are on the board. It's 12, but Riley Patterson, the kicker in town for the Dolphins, will get an extra point up and good, and therefore our score line is now Dolphins with 7 on the board as they go from down 12-0 to now down by 5. It's a 5-point game, and the Dolphins are on the board with the 7. It is still in the second quarter, and Andres decides after 81 yards and 21 plays, including a penalty for a false start of 5 yards, which happened on a 2nd and 5 on the Miami 43-yard line, and then a timeout later by Miami, their first of the half. Andres B scored a third field goal opportunity, well, his first field goal opportunity actually in the ball game. This one from 22 yards out, kick is up and is good, and the Patriots are still in front. It is now 50. But wait, fans of the Dolphins Nation, just when you thought the Dolphins were going to be down 15-7, which they were at the point, they answer right back to the birdie, taking themselves from down 8 to down to just 1 point as it becomes Patriots 15, Dolphins 14, thanks to a touchdown pass to Devon Achane from Tua for 29 yards. Devon Achane, a pass, and then of course Riley Patterson. The kick is up, it is through the uprights, and it's a 1-point game going into half at 15-14 for the Patriots. They lead 15-14 going into half. Third quarter action, Dolphins on the ball first. They get a kickoff from New England's 35-yard line, and in 11 plays, total up just 64 yards within possession time of 4:19 to go. And Riley Patterson kicks a 40-yard field goal up through the uprights, and now Dolphins have their first field goal of the game after 2 touchdowns, and they are in the lead now, 17-15. So it went from Dolphins trailing to Dolphins leading. It went from 15-14 to now 17-15 for the Dolphins, which means the Dolphins are up by a safety. It's 17-15. Still in the third quarter of the second half. This is, of course, a second half breakdown, and the Dolphins love their lead. They'd love to build on it, and they'll do so again with Riley Patterson this time kicking a 44-yard field goal up through the uprights. It is good, and the Dolphins lead it 20-15. It's 2015 Dolphins over the Patriots. They lead it 20-15. The Patriots were down 2. Now they're down an extra number, with it being 20-15. That is a 5-point game for the Dolphins that the Patriots are now down after 2 field goals. Don't worry, we'll just pick up a 6. the Patriots say, in the third quarter, and they would. But instead of an extra point, they decided to go for a 2-point conversion after Drake May scrambles to the right end for a 6-yard touchdown. A penalty for defensive holding on the Miami Dolphins is called, and that is to Dodson. Defensive holding. The penalty was declined, so therefore results in a touchdown. And just when you thought the Patriots were going to kick an extra point, they send R. Stevenson, or Raymond Stevenson, if I'm saying that right. I'll go with R. Stevenson, who will rush up the middle, get in there, and the 2-point conversion succeeds. Therefore, the Patriots are out in front 23-20. So it's a 2-point game yet again for the Dolphins to contain with. So it's a 2-point game now. 2020. Patriots lead 2020 going into the last quarter of action. I wonder what will happen in the third half of this second half. And by third half, I mean the fourth quarter. Well, no need to look too far down the line, but the Dolphins would have a punt that they would return. Actually, why don't we just... No, I'll explain it first, and then I'll show you the replay, because this was pretty interesting. With just 7:39 to go in the fourth quarter of play on the game clock, a 65-yard punt by two B's. I don't know how to say the person's name, but I'll try and say the person's last name. B. Beringer. He punts 65 yards. I hope I said that right. If I didn't say that right, I'll just go with BB. And it is Macau Washington, or M. Washington, going from where the ball was punted, 74 yards out, all the way to the Patriots end zone for a Dolphin touchdown. And then the very next play that happened, this was pretty amazing. It was a kickoff that only needed an extra point afterwards. And of course, Riley Patterson, the kick is up and it is good. So the Dolphins are in front 27-23, thanks to Washington's play. So Dolphins think, 27-23, that's a good score that we can finish off with. Says Antonio Gibson. He goes for 90 yards. This one kicked off by Riley Patterson from 55 yards, and it's returned for a TD. It's kicked to the New England 10-yard line, and Gibson rushes it 90 yards past the Miami 35-yard line, all the way to the Dolphins' end zone for a touchdown. Patriots. And all of a sudden, we're playing who can get the touchdown in the least amount of plays, as it's now 30 Patriots, 27 Dolphins. Me wonders, what's going to happen before the end of the game? It's 30-27 Dolphins, down by, I think it's 3, with 28, 29, and 30 making a field goal. Yeah, it's definitely a 3-point game at this point, folks. All the Dolphins would have to do is go down the field, get in the field goal range, kick an extra point, a field goal, and the game will be tied at 30-30. What happens, though? Well, glad we asked, because after a New England penalty on 4th and 2 for a false start of 5 yards, just a minute 52 to go on the game clock and the game itself, Andres B., the kicker for the New England Patriots, kicks a 53-yard field goal up and good. And there you have it, folks. The Dolphins fall to the Patriots 33-27. We will take a break here on Dolphins Post Game, and when we come back, we'll dive into the game balls of the game. Maybe we'll take a look at the action that had gone on for week number 2 in the NFL season. We will definitely give you our game balls of the game, and we'll hear from the Patriots locker room. If you are a Dolphins fan and you only want to hear the locker room when the Dolphins come out of a victory, that would give you something to think about during this break. I'm not going to explain it. We will also talk about week number 3's matchup for both the Patriots and the Dolphins. And we'll discuss how both teams did in week 1 from our own perspectives. All of that still to come when Dolphins Post Game continues. Stay with us.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
All right, welcome back, everybody, into Dolphins Post Game. Dolphins lose 33-27 to the New England Patriots. Week 2 is officially in the books, everybody. And what a week 2 it was. We'll get down into the week 2 scoreboard in just a few minutes from now, 10 minutes from now. But before we do, we have some game balls. And before we do that, we have some thoughts on this game to get to as well. And I'm thinking all may be forgiven with how everything has transpired in this Dolphins post game, depending on how next week for the Dolphins goes. But it's very clear that the Dolphins could be, and very well are, tanking this NFL season. I don't want that to be the case, and I know Dolphins fans out there don't want that to be the case either, but it very well could be the answer. And even with a mindset, knowing that that could be a case, it is important to note that no matter how hard you try in this game before we get to the Patriots locker room speech to tank, eventually you're going to get into those wins. Now, it doesn't feel like it will be football season past the regular season for the Miami Dolphins. Let's get that clear. But Dolphins fans, I know you probably don't want to hear that, and I know you probably don't want to hear the Patriots victory speech, unless it was a Dolphins victory. So why don't you keep those fins up? And you can mute this if you wish. Credit going to the Patriots for their week 2 victory over the Miami Dolphins, 33-27. I'm a little gutted about it as well. And Lions fans, stay tuned to the end of this Dolphins post game after we wrap up the Patriots and set up Bills and Dolphins, Patriots, and Steelers, which is the next competition, because we might have some breaking news that will happen here on the ice and behind the benches, and maybe, just maybe, it'll happen on Sports for Beginners, but on the ice and behind the benches, for sure. We may have some Detroit content coming your way, so just maybe, stay tuned to the end of the show. For now, let's join the Patriots locker room before we get into our game balls of the game and hear what the team had to say after a week 1 victory. I should say week 2 victory against the Miami Dolphins. Take it away, Patriots locker room. And for those who are assuming this isn't our content, the Dolphins post-game talk and conversations are all me. Credit goes to the New England Patriots YouTube channel. The link will be in this description below if you want to recheck in this show. Those are for the listeners who send copyright infringement. I'm letting you know that this, just like the Indianapolis Colts, will be in the description. All right, enough talk. Let's hear what the Patriots locker room had to say.
Let's go. Just bring it up. I know you guys are exhausted. Okay, come on. Mike, I'm going to take care of you, okay? Just trust me on this. Okay, I'll get to the schedule here in a minute. Okay, but you got to be willing.
I'm going to call an audible.
Okay, good.
Okay. Hey, this was awesome. Thank you all. And I got to tell you, I know how hard this guy and his team have been working, and a lot of guys who have been here in the past with him, and we're honored to have him as a player. Won 3 Super Bowls with us. It's very cool the effort you all put in today. Give him his first win.
Listen to me. This will always and forever be about players. I'm just telling you. You guys know that. This will always be about the players. Robert, thank you. But this is for you guys, fellas. This is Andre when we said, just make one play. And he said, listen, one guy's got to make a play. And you made a play. Okay, I'm proud of you, buddy. Okay, I'm proud of you. And then you, okay, Tay, I appreciate you, man. Nobody has embraced their role in this football team. I love the way you care about the punt team, and it's gotten better. And it's because of you, and you took advantage. You went in there, and you took advantage of the opportunity. If you guys want to see me, I love watching Tay in these team meetings, man. He sits there, heads nodding, he's locked in, okay? And you took advantage of your opportunity. I'm proud of you, okay? Milt, we got you here in the offseason, buddy, and we got to have you win games for us, buddy. I'm proud of you, man. Okay, and again, this is about opportunity. Okay, we all love and care about Big T. Okay, Big T wasn't able to make the trip. Okay, Zach didn't bat an eye. Okay, stepped up, man. You told it out of my mind. I had no reservation about sending you out there to kick that field goal. Okay, I didn't. Thank you. That's the expectations. Okay, we came back to Miami, and you made a huge kick. So I'm proud of you. Bring him up in here. Let's break it down. I'm proud to be your coach, fellas. I'm proud to be your coach. It's always about the team. Team on 3. 1, 2.
Team on 3. 1, 2, 3 team. That is the locker room speech from the Patriots, and that that brings us up to the finish of our halfway point of this show. The New England Patriots, of course, victors in this one. They're victors. They take care of business. Like I said, the Patriots and the Indianapolis Colts victory speeches will be in our links and descriptions. We'll get to our game balls of the game in just a few moments. 6 minutes time. Perhaps a timeout is in play. Let's take a look at the Sunday Week 2 scoreboard as the Buffalo Bills, where we'll start things off. That's where we'll start things off here. Hopefully you guys could hear the audio sound as we were trying to give you the perfect analogy for the Patriots locker room. If not, like I said, the link in description will have the show for you. Week 2 is in the books, and it started with Miami's next team in week number 3. We'll start with that team of conversation in Buffalo, who came off a 41-40 Sunday Night Football victory over the Baltimore Ravens. They come out and face Justin Fields and the Jets in the New York Jets. Beat them 30-10 on Sunday afternoon. The Patriots' next opponent, the Steelers, they come out with a little bit of their own little fun to talk about, but they end up losing to the Seattle Seahawks 31-17, the final there in Steel City, Pittsburgh. Both teams were 1-1 on the season, with one team losing last week and one team winning this week. Of course, the Steelers won their opener, but they lost to the Seattle Seahawks, which means the Seahawks lost week 1, but they came out and beat the Steelers. Their record is 1-1. The Steelers will face another 1-1 opponent in the Patriots. We'll talk about that matchup momentarily. But first, let's continue on with our Sunday scoreboard as we get into our game balls of the game. Thursday Night Football kicked us off into a little bit of a head scratcher of a game, some people would say. I think it was a pretty good game. It wasn't magic like what we saw on Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football in week 1, but it was what it was. The Packers put up a better performance with the Commanders, beating the Commanders 27-18, and of course, improved the Commanders to 1-1 on the season, while they go 2-0 on the season, beating them 27-18. The final for Thursday Night Football. Wonder what Thursday Night Football week number 3 will have for us. Into Baltimore, speaking of the Ravens, when we talked about the Bills. And after losing 41-40 On Sunday Night Football, they come up with a big 41 burger on the Cleveland Browns, the Dog Pound, beating the Dog Pound Cleveland Browns 41-17 on home field as they improve their record to 1-1. The Cleveland Browns will start their season 0-2 on the season with a loss to the Baltimore Ravens. They did lose the opening week matchup, which enabled them to start the first half of their season. Week 1 enabled them to start 0-1 on the season. They were hoping to go 1-1 on the season with a win over the Ravens. Not to be. You know what else was not to be? The Jaguars beating, or kind of beating, the Cincinnati Bengals as the Bengals come out on top 31-27. The Jaguars will start the season 1-1 on the season. The Bengals will start the season 2-0 on the season for, I believe it's the first time in a couple of seasons that Cincinnati has started 2-0. Speaking of starting 2-0, another team that wants to start 2-0 ended up losing last week, but picks up a victory in OT fashion is the Dallas Cowboys, who pick up a 40-37 victory over the New York Giants in OT. The Giants are 0-2 to start the season. It's 1-1 Dallas Cowboys football heading into week number 3 of the season. And speaking of 1-1, the Detroit Lions beat the Chicago Bears 52-21. The Bears will start their season 0-2 again on the season, but the Lions will pick up a win as a little bit of a head scratcher in the opener of week number 1 in the season when they did lose, but they will pick up a pack of dubs and take a 1-1 record into week number 3 with a 52-21 victory over the Bears of Chicago. The 49ers take care of business against the Saints, send the Saints to 0-2 and them to 2-0 with a victory of 26-21. Their opponents will prove probably interesting for week number 3. We'll talk about those opponents, I'm sure, on Before They Kick Off, before Thursday Night Football's game. Stay tuned to Before They Kick Off, either on the ice and behind the benches during Dolphins and Bills, or on Sports for Beginners during Dolphins and Bills, and after Dolphins and Bills Thursday Night Football, also known as TNF in short form, when we do Dolphin Post Game and Buffalo Bills Post Game. Sure to be quite an action-packed post-game show for you Friday night or Saturday night on both Sports for Beginners and on the ice and behind the benches. But do tune in to Before They Kick Off, before the game gets going. It's going to be a fun show, I'm sure. The Tennessee Titans, just to wrap up our score summary for now, 33 losers to the LA Rams. LA Rams will take a 2-0 record into week number 3, an 0-2 record for the Tennessee Titans as they lose 30-19 on Sunday, week number 2 of the season. And just to finish it up, so we only have a few games left on the Sunday slate to get to Monday, the Arizona Cardinals, 27-22 victors over the Carolina Panthers, who start the season 0-2, and the Cardinals start the season 2-0 with a 27-22 victory. All right, more from the scoreboard in just a matter of moments. We have time to take a time out here on Dolphins Post Game, so when we come back, we will dive into our game balls of the game. That's coming up next on Dolphins Post Game. Be sure to stick with us, though, because when we return as well, not only will we get over the game balls of the game, we will talk about what's happening for Dolphins Post Game, and we will have much to talk about for the Bills and the Dolphins, the Patriots and the Steelers. Those are the next teams of conversation, and it's all happening when Dolphins Post Game continues. Stay with us.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
Welcome back to Dolphins Post Game. I am your host, Thomas McGregor. Please call me Thomas. As I mentioned off the top of the show, be sure to follow us on our Facebook page, Sports for Beginners Facebook page. You can follow us, of course, on the Ice and Behind the Benches is Facebook page. And of course, we have the latest updates on what's happening on the program. Now, before we get back into Dolphins Post Game, quick show reminders for hockey fans out there. Penguins pre-show will return this hockey season, but will be on select Penguins hockey games, including night owl action. The Dolphins post-game will sit as a post-game for Penguins fans preview on the ice and behind the benches, as we'll prepare you for Penguins post-game. And of course, Dolphins next opponents throughout the course of the NFL season. And we're getting things started in style with the opening game being at the opening of the season. But how else is Penguins pre-show going to fit? Stay tuned to the NHL Conference's next episode of On the Ice and Behind the Benches Season 2 for the details. We'll dive into that, as well as take a look at the Atlantic Division and see what's happening on the PWHL before that show is up. So just a little bit of a teaser for that show. We will have the return of Blue Jays game recap come your way in the postseason, depending on the winner of the wild card race between one of the final opponents the Blue Jays will face and who has been eliminated from this year's MLB postseason in the wild card race. Who will those wild card teams be? Who are the Blue Jays facing? Who is anyone facing in the National League? Something to be talked about on Sports for Beginners' latest Blue Jays game recap following the series finale at Steinbrenner Field and the final road series between Kauffman Stadium's Kansas City Royals and the Toronto Blue Jays in 3 games time as they continue their 4-game series tonight. So just thought I'd give you a little bit of a breather there. We are getting into our game balls of the game, and just a reminder, we had gone over most of Sunday and Thursday's slate. We have a few games left to get over for Sunday, and then, of course, the Monday doubleheader. We'll get to that momentarily. Let's talk about game balls of the game, though, for the Dolphins and the Patriots. Let's talk about game balls of the game. Let's go through stats here. All right, let's have us a look here, okay? Now, obviously, this did not go the way that the Dolphins fans wanted. We were all thinking it would be a Hard Rock Stadium, Club Dub edition. Not the case. However, the Dolphins and the Patriots, you can't say that they did not try, because they sure as heck tried their hardest. Our top performers as the stats here for the NFL, and we're not really showing our screen here, but we will. So let's actually do that. We'll share the screen here. The stats here are pretty much interesting for Drake May. 517 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 71% completed passes, 72.7% complete passes for 429 yards from Tua, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So 3 picks, if you can believe that. Devon Achane leads the rushing charge, 85 yards to 69 yards with a 4.7 average. and 18 attempts, no touchdowns for him. Tyreek Hill into the fold, 14.9 average a carry, 1 reception of a target, no touchdowns, a touchdown and a reception from K Bluti, or I'm gonna go KB. I'm gonna go KB. 7 receptions, 1 touchdown, average just 17 yards a carry, and Arson 18 attempts on the rush, 3.8 yards a carry, 69 yards for him. So those are about as good of the stats you can get for the team. But yeah, it was tough. It was a tough one. It was a tough one for the Dolphins. It was a tough one. It was definitely tough. It was definitely a tough one. Tough pill to swallow, definitely. But put it on the back burner, guys. Get ready for the Bills and get ready for, of course, the Steelers for the Patriots fans out there. That's your week 3 matchup for both the Dolphins and the Patriots. Steelers will take on the Patriots, and of course, the Dolphins are taking on, well, the Buffalo Bills. We'll have both of those recaps for you for the Bills and Dolphins on both Dolphin Postgame and Bills Postgame. You don't want to miss it. We'll have it for you right here on the ice and behind the benches. And of course, Sports for Beginners will have it as well. Let's get to game balls of the game. We got through most of our storylines through the rushing and the passing, and then, of course, the receiving. But let's take a look at our game balls of the game, and those, of course, brought to you by the NFL website. And I can't stress this enough. The quarterbacks, despite the interceptions that we just went over, Drake May, of course, did not make a single interception or no picks. It does say that 517 yards, he did throw a pick, but maybe that is not from today's game. Maybe that's from the previous game he played, which I believe was with the Las Vegas Raiders, which they did lose that game, did throw a pick. This one, 19 completions, 23 attempts, 230 yards. He averaged just 82.6 yards per completion, averaged just 10 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns, 3 sacks. Pretty good job by him. He definitely will get a game ball of the game for me. Oh yeah, how about Antonio Gibson? 5 attempts on the ground, 27 yards rushes, average 4 yards a carry, 5.4 yards per carry. His 15 yards was the longest he'd ever driven. The team altogether on the ground rushed for 122 yards on 29 attempts, averaged just 16.7 yards a carry. The longest yardage was 55 yards, and the only fumble came on G. Bradbury, which of course they did recover. They didn't lose the fumble, but they did recover it. And the last one, I mean, Stevenson, what is there to say? 5 receptions, 88 yards, 5 targets, 55 being the longest yards. Yards per carry, I believe that's what YAC means. 63 yards to carry for him. Pretty great job by him. They did fumble the ball, and they did not recover the ball. 1 interception yard for 20 yards. Pretty good job by him. And let's put in a little bit of some happiness there. Give Mac Hollins a little bit of credit here. 1 target for a reception, 8 yards for him on the play, 1 touchdown, 2 targets, I should say. 8 was his longest yardage, and let's see, yards per carry. That was 3 yards. YAC means, I don't know. We'll have to take a look at that. Those are your pretty much game balls of the game. Drake May, Stevenson, Antonio Gibson, Bradbury, and Drake May. I mean, it's pretty obvious there. Good guys there. We're going to get to the Dolphins team in just a little bit. We'll get to them in just a little bit. Trust me, we'll get there. We'll get to them in just a little bit. Let's take a look at how they did stats-wise. And as we get to that, we're also going to look at the final pieces of our Sunday slate into our Monday slate for week number 2. So let's take a look at that while we're awaiting our scoreboard to show up. So we put up our stats here for the Dolphins and the Patriots. As mentioned, the Bills 30-10 victors over the Jets. The Steelers 31-17 losers to the Seattle Seahawks. They are down for a great match against the Patriots. That's going to be a great one to watch. As we mentioned, the Cardinals are 2-0 on the season versus the 0-2 Panthers, 27-22 the final there in favor of the Cardinals. The last games we'll talk about are the Kansas City Chiefs, the Denver Broncos, the Atlanta Falcons, the Buccaneers, and then, of course, the Raiders, who find themselves in interesting Monday Night Football fashion. Let's start with the Broncos here, as they go to 1-1 on the season with a 29-28 loss to the Indianapolis Colts, who find themselves 2 to start the season. 2 victories, one against the Dolphins 33-8 in week 1, and then 29-28 week number 2 against the Denver Broncos, who send the Broncos to 1-1. Now, there was some controversy that was going on during that last play, but we'll let bygones be bygones. Let's just say put it on the back burner, Denver, and come back with your heads held high in your next matchup. To Kansas City we go, and they played in Brazil. An interesting matchup, to say the least. They played in Brazil, a 20-17 final there for this Super Bowl matchup, which of course was not in Brazil. This one was in Arrowhead. Despite losing to the Chargers, who were in Monday Night Football's matchup, they lose to the defending Super Bowl champions 20-17. That is the Philadelphia Eagles. They will start this season for the first time in NFL franchise history 0-2 on the season after their back-to-back championship run, which was hoping for a three-peat, but of course it got stopped by the Philadelphia Eagles last Super Bowl season. And then, of course, the Minnesota Vikings find themselves at 1-1 thanks to a 22-6 victory over the Atlanta Falcons. 22-6 the final. The Vikings and the Falcons are 1-1 to start the season going into week number 3. Monday Night Football's case, the Buccos take care of the Texans. Close football action. It's 2019, the final, as the Buccos will start 2-0 on the season, and the Texans will start 0-2 on the season, losing 20-19 to the Buccaneers on Monday Night Football, or MNF. Speaking of MNF, it was a doubleheader, and the Chargers took the doubleheader to their advantage. They will go to 2-0 on the season, as well as the Buccaneers, and send the Raiders to 1-1 on the season, beating them. And there you have it, folks. That is our week 2 of the NFL season. All right, so much to talk about for week 2, but we got to get back to, week 3. All right, I appreciate the technical issues we had here on Dolphins Post Game, but we are back here on the program. This, of course, will be our final timeout. We were in the middle of talking about our game stats for week number 2. We're going to get to those stats. We did bring out our game balls of the game for the New England Patriots, and that means we are back into it with our third game, of course, of the season, featuring, of course, the Bills as they take on the Dolphins next week, which is Thursday Night Football. And, of course, the Patriots taking on the Steelers, sure to be a fun matchup. Once again, if you're just joining us after the victory speech and you did miss the Patriots piece of Game Balls of the Game, I'll reveal just the Game Balls of the Game that I had for you. Kansas City does lose 20-17, and then of course the Monday Night Football matchups: 20-9 Chargers over the Raiders, 20-19 the Texans lose to the Buccaneers. And if you're interested in only the Steelers, who are the Patriots' next opponent, and the Bills, who are the Dolphins' next opponent, it's 30-10 the Jets. If you weren't hearing us as we're returning, we were taking over the game balls of the game for the Patriots. We're now going to get into our stats for the Patriots and the Dolphins. As we mentioned already, total yardage was 333 yards 230 yards to be exact for the passing yards for the Patriots, 315 passing yards for the Dolphins, equaling to 358 passing yards. These, of course, are coming courtesy of Sportsnet's website here for the stats total here. 122 rushing yards, 61 rush yards for the Miami Dolphins, 122 rushing yards for the Patriots. In total, the Dolphins called 50 to the 55 plays called by the New England Patriots. As you see in our final bracket, it's 33 to 27 the final. That's the score. The Patriots beat the Dolphins. They averaged just 6.1 yards per play and 6.9 yards per play. Go the Dolphins. The Patriots 6.1 yards per play. 18 first downs to 16 first downs for Miami. We don't know how good the first downs were, but I believe some of them came on penalties. Speaking of penalties, 12 penalties to the Patriots, 10 to the Dolphins. 65 of the penalty yards were for the Dolphins, and 75 of them came to the Patriots. The Dolphins turned the ball over once, had 59 tackles in this game. The QBs were sacked 5 and 3 times. Drake May got sacked 5 times. He lost 19 yards. The Tua team of the Dolphins got sacked 3 times, lost 18 yards in the time of possession. 30 Patriots and 26-15 the score possession for the Miami Dolphins. So there's your game stats there via Sportsnet. We are in the final stretch here, and knowing that we were on our last break due to the technical issue that came out, this is where we'll begin to set up Dolphins Bills, and we'll begin to set up Patriots and Steelers. We'll talk about those games as we have just finished up our scoreboard from Sunday. And I've got some thoughts on this series, but before we do anything else, I do want to pay attention to the Sunday action, and we'll use this courtesy of Sportsnet, which we'll have in our link in description. Don't you worry, we'll have this in our link in description for the actual highlights. I do want to play the highlights that put the 2 touchdowns that we went in our game breakdown, as both teams took care of business and had each team score not just 1 touchdown after the other, but also score one after the other had already scored on a punt. So here is Washington, and then Antonio Gibson, I believe, is the man who had the kickoff. Watch these plays, and you guys tell me what you guys thought. And then again, we'll get into our game balls of the game for the Dolphins. I'll reveal the game balls of the game for the Patriots, Bills, and Dolphins. Patriots and Steelers game preview coming up in just a few minutes. After our technical issue timeout, we'll get those in and we'll finish it off there. But first, here's a look at the plays. Enjoy the plays, and we'll see you with our Dolphins game balls of the game. Enjoy the plays.
Washington back to his 27-yard line.
All right, I'm going to continue that matchup is Gibson run in just a little bit, but yeah, that's what happened first. So the Dolphins that's what happened to get the Dolphins 23-27. They would get up thanks to a punt touchdown, thanks to Washington, and then of course you have the very next play out like this. Yeah, absolutely right there. Absolutely right there. Back-to-back monster plays as we are into our Dolphins game balls of the game. And there you have it, folks. That's what happened. As soon as the Dolphins scored, the Patriots answered right back with a 6 of their very own. And of course, it was for 90 yards, which would send the Dolphins into a 30-27 game as the kickoff was returned from Antonio Gibson. 90 yards right back in to the Dolphins end zone for a touchdown. Something like that should probably never happen on the Dolphins side. but we've all seen it, right? I'm sure we've all seen it. If you haven't seen it or you didn't even dare to watch the game when the game was happening and now you've seen the highlights, I mean, where do you go with that, right? Where do you go with that? Back-to-back touchdowns. First, a punt from the Dolphins, return for a touchdown. The Dolphins pick up points to make it 23-27 Dolphins, with the 27 point for the Dolphins coming on a punt return. And then you've got it now going to 30-27 in favor of the Patriots on a kickoff return from Antonio Gibson, just 90 yards back to the Patriots end zone for a Patriots touchdown in the Dolphin territory. It was like one back-to-back. Definitely monster plays. Definitely monster plays. Now, we get to our Dolphin game balls of the game. And we will take a 30-second timeout due to our technical issue timeout that happened during our second to last break. So we'll take a 30-second timeout after we're done with our game balls of the game, and we'll set up the Steelers, Patriots, Dolphins, and Bills on the other side. But I sure hope, Patriots Nation, if we were recording this on a Monday and we're recording this on a Tuesday, you are enjoying your Victory Monday. And I hope you're getting ready for Steelers and Patriots. It's going to be a great matchup on Sunday. I'm sure it's going to be a fun matchup. Dolphin fans, I hope you're taking the Monday and the Tuesday as a little bit of a let's find out how we can better ourselves against the Buffalo Bills, because we'll be talking about those games momentarily on the other side. My game balls of the game for the Miami Dolphins, of course, you've got a player of the game, and I believe that is Mikal Washington, or as I'll call him, Washington. I mean, look at this guy. Number 6 on the Dolphins, and despite not having a touchdown to his name on the rushing wise, he does make good on his promise to go 7.7 yards a carry. 18 yards was his longest yardage. 3 attempts, 23 yards. Great job by him. No touchdown, but he does get a touchdown due to special teams. And I mean, boy, was it a big one. A touchdown for him, just 74 yards on just a one punt return he got. Averaged just 74 yards a carry. 74 yards is the longest. And of course, 74 yards was the touchdown number. He returns it from the 65 punt of a yard on the Patriots side all the way to the Patriots end zone for a Dolphins touchdown. And then the very next play, we had Antonio Gibson take from his own end zone, wherever he was getting the kickoff from, all the way to the Dolphins end zone for a Patriot touchdown. 90 yards. Yee. But whether or not we like the Dolphins, I think you could give some credit to some of the other Dolphin players. Like Tua, wasn't his best start. He did throw an interception, 2 touchdowns, 215 yards. Not bad, not bad. I like that he was 26 for 32 completions. 26 for 32 doesn't seem like a too bad idea. That's a pretty good job by him. 18 also comes into the conversation for me with the average 2.7 yards a carry. Really hope he would have had a longer yardage instead of 9. He does average 30 yards in 11 attempts on the ground. Tyreek Hill, yeah, it's a bit of a letdown with the 6 receptions, the 109 yards, averaging just 47 yards a carry, just 18.2 yards per carry. I think it was worth it for him. Jalen Phillips, let's talk about him. How about his start? I loved how he played. And you know what? Let's give a little Patriot acknowledgement to Stephon Diggs, since we know we're facing his Buffalo Bills this week. It was a pretty good matchup, regardless of how you want to talk about it. It's a pretty good matchup. 4 receptions, 32 yards, 8 yards a carry, 10 yards being his longest. Hey, he may not be on a Buffalo Bills team anymore, but he's still got it. Guys, he's still got it. Fantastic game overall for the Patriots. Kind of a back burner game for the Dolphins, but we all know what's happening this season. And I'd be reclined to tell you on Thursday's final of TNF when the Bills and the Dolphins face each other, no matter what the final score is, I'd be inclined to tell you that maybe it is the tanking season for the Dolphins. We certainly hope it's not the case, Dolphin fans. We know what our issues are for the Dolphins. Will they be resolved before the offseason? Maybe. We obviously know what we're probably expecting, and I'm not saying this out of what Dolphin fans have told me that I know. I'm just saying that we obviously don't want it to go that way, but if we do want it to go that way, and you are those Dolphin fans out there that want it to go that way because you're going for the number one pick in the NFL draft next season, I mean, power to you, but at least show some sense of efforts to try and win some ball games. And let's see if we can actually get some wins on the board. All right, we're going to take a 30-second timeout and preview Bills, Dolphins, Steelers, Patriots, and then sign off here. Get ready for our next edition of Dolphins Post Game. And of course, we'll tell you what's on tap for On the Ice and Behind the Benches and Sports for Beginners as baseball season nears postseason. That's all coming up next, so be sure to stick with us. Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches.
I wonder if I could make it. It's almost getting to 8 o'clock p.m., and I am still a few more steps away from home to get to my computer to listen to CNT Radio's Cosmopolitan Culture Club. The best of the best music from around the world. Can't wait. I think I made it. CNT Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
All right, thanks very much, Ali. Thanks very much, Sienna, for those words on Sports for Beginners and On the Ice and Behind the Benches. Be sure to check them out on Broadcast Map and, of course, the Sienna T Radio station, where they provide exclusive and fun-filled shows like the Song Bank, the Cosmopolitan Culture Club, Nick Blazewitz's show, The Melting Pot. It's great to hear him. And you've even got the Classical Cafe. I also have heard, and I'm not sure if we've all heard this yet on our podcast platforms, if we've tuned into Broadcast Map's network lately, but Around the News with Becky Coles has returned to Broadcast Map. So those are good shows as well. Welcome into Dolphins Post Game. It is the final half edition of Dolphins Post Game, mirroring some technical issues that we had as we were getting ready to send us into our final break of the program. We apologize for that. We have some news of our own to get to for Sports for Beginners and On the Ice and Behind the Benches, and we're going to do so in just minutes from now. But first things first, let's tee up Bills Dolphins for Thursday Night Football. And just before we wrap up the show, we will tee up Patriots and Steelers. And while we're on the topic of that, let's take a look at what week 3 has in store for us, because I know we'll take a look at it as we prepare for kickoff with Dolphins and the Bills for TNF before they kick off. Let's take a look at it. So it looks like we got a pretty interesting 1 o'clock schedule besides Patriots and Steelers. We have the Colts taking on the Tennessee Titans. We have the Jets taking on the Buccaneers. The Commanders are taking on the Raiders. The Jaguars are taking on the Texans. Bengals are against the Vikings. That should be a fun one. We have the Broncos against the Chargers. That kicks off our 4 o'clock slate, but ending off our 1 o'clock slate is the Packers playing host of the Browns in the Dog Pound area. So could be a great one to see for the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland, Ohio, or one to forget probably. If the Packers come out with a victory, that's your 1 o'clock slate. Your 4 o'clock slate, as we mentioned, will have the Denver Broncos lead things off at 4:05 p.m. Also at 4:05 p.m., we have the Seahawks taking on the New Orleans Saints. Around 25 minutes after 4 o'clock p.m., we have the Cowboys taking on the Bears, and the Niners are taking on the St. Louis Cardinals, as we say in baseball terms, but they're known as the Arizona Cardinals in football terms at 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Sunday Night Football SNF features the Chiefs and the Giants, and then this week's Monday Night Football features the Lions and the Ravens, with kickoff just 15 minutes after 8 o'clock p.m. 8:15 is the start time Eastern. So that's going to be a fun matchup to get to. Let's take a look at the Dolphins and the Steelers. The Dolphins and the Bills game. Let's take a look at it, folks. Sure to be quite a matchup. Bills Mafia, and I'm pretty sure Blue Jays player and fan of the Buffalo Bills, Ernie Clement, will try to keep tabs on this game as well. It's the Bills Mafia versus the Dolphin Nation, or I guess Bills Mafia versus the NFL, depending on who you cheer for the Dolphins and the Bills. The game is scheduled to get started at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. That is, of course, when that game will get going. Of course, you never really know. You could see that possibly happening. We will have it for you on before they kick off as primetime event. I'm sure it will be a massive brawl between the Bills and the Dolphins, but we'll see where the game goes. I'm not saying it's going to be a good one, because it's probably going to be a great one. Probably one of the most watched Thursday night football games of this season, but you never know. It's the 2-0 Buffalo Bills taking on the 0-2 Miami Dolphins. It's going to be a good one. I can assure you of that. Will Mike McDaniel be without a job? Dolphin fans who are thinking this is a tanking season by the time we hit week 4 of the season? I don't know. But I know one thing. Sean McDermott and his team, with a win over the Dolphins, will be 3-0, and the Dolphins will be 0-3. But the main question everyone's asking as Dolphin fans is, will Mike McDaniel be coaching the Dolphins past week 3? And I don't know. The players seem to be backing him up, but everyone has their opinions. I'll just leave this here before we tee up Steelers and Patriots, which is coming up in just 5 minutes from now. That also means our end of the show. I'll just leave it here. The Dolphins are having a down year. They got the crap beat out of them against the Indianapolis Colts. And then, of course, you come to this week's recap in the Patriots, where they find ways to lose, but they also could have won the game. 33-27 is the final score in that week matchup against the Patriots. Who knows what will happen down the road when they next meet? Who probably cares what happens with the Dolphins team from this point on in the season? I'm keeping my fins up, Dolphins Nation, to see what happens the rest of the way here on Dolphins Post Game. Hopefully there's some club dubs to think about and less losses, but you never really know. Maybe there'll be a lot losses before we get to winning territory, but we'll see how the team is going to respond to Buffalo at Thursday Night Football. One team is going to have a loss on their belt, and one team's going to have a win on their belt, depending on how this Thursday Night Football game goes. I have high hopes that we'll have a club dub edition of Dolphins Post Game after Thursday Night Football, but you never really know what will happen against Buffalo, especially under the lights on prime time Thursday Night Football. And also, it is quick to kind of bring up, as we are talking about the Dolphins and the Bills, just before we get into the Steelers, which is now 4 minutes away from talking about them, that the Dolphins won't be out of prime time football after they face the Bills, as they'll be back in prime time on the 4th week of the season as well. They'll take on the Jets at 7:15 p.m. on the 29th of September. And then, of course, we're back to Sunday afternoon action against the Carolina Panthers for the 5th week of the season. We continue Sunday action against the Chargers week 6 and then week 7 against the Browns. We go back to prime time when we take on the Ravens at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time after we face the Falcons on Sunday, the Browns on Sunday, and the Chargers on Sunday, as well as the Panthers on Sunday of those weeks that are on the way, most notably week 5, 6, 7, and 8 to week 9, which I believe will be another primetime game, and that of course will be against the Baltimore Ravens on October 31st before we play the Buffalo Bills yet again. The Falcons will be the last Sunday matchup that they'll have before they go back to prime time on October 30th. We are in prime time for the Jets game after the Buffalo Bills, so that's on Monday Night Football, which is part of a doubleheader. Should be fun to get to the end of that one. We'll see what happens on Dolphins Post Game when we get to the end of Dolphins and Jets. Be sure you stick with us for that on Dolphins Post Game. Should be fun. Okay, so we've gotten you a little bit up to speed of what that will happen in week number 4. They'll take on the Jets, the next primetime matchup, which will be on M. Now let's talk about Steelers and the Patriots. Let's take a look at the Patriots and Steelers. And I gotta be real honest with you guys. Steelers Nation, if you're listening to us on Dolphins Post Game, we're glad you've joined us for this preview. I think this could go either way. I, in reality, think it's going to be the Steelers winning, which would mean it would be their second road victory of the season. But I also sense this could go to overtime, and I think the Patriots would win in overtime. I'm not going to give any game predictions until before they kick off. Show goes off the air and we're through Thursday Night Football. But I'll say this, it's going to be one heck of a matchup. I certainly can't wait to watch Patriots and Steelers. I think it's going to be fun. And the best of luck to Aaron Rodgers, who takes on Drake May next week, Sunday, which of course is this week, the 3rd week of the season. I just can't wait for that matchup. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun one. I'm pumped. I'm pumped for it, guys. I'm pumped. I would love to see what happens with Patriots and the Steelers. I'm pumped. It's one of my games I'd actually like to see in the Sunday slate. It's one of the games I'm looking forward to. So we'll see what happens. But first, you got to get past Bills and Dolphins. Yeah, pump the brakes a bit there, Buffalo fans. When I was about to say Steelers, I almost switched Thursday night's opponent with the Steelers when it's ironically going to be just the Steelers against the Patriots. And you've got the Dolphins next. So pump the brakes a bit. I kind of oops there a little bit, but yeah, it's gonna be a fun one. It's gonna be a fun one. Gonna be a fun one. I'm really glad we'll do a before they kick off. Now, we're in the final stretch, and normally I would tell you what the attendance record of this game was. I didn't tell you the attendance record of the Indianapolis Colts game, but you guys can remind me if I did or not on Dolphins Post Game when we talk about the Buffalo Bills after TNF, which is Thursday Night Football short form. But do join us for before they kick off as we prepare to talk about the Dolphins and the Bills for TNF. And now the podcast announcements to get to our final thoughts here. Like I said, when we returned from our 30-second timeout, there is some hockey action that's going to be taking over some of our football and baseball action over the course of the MLB postseason. We will cover the MLB postseason for the Blue Jays as part of a MLB Blue Jays postseason game recap. But if you're familiar with Steve Dangle's LFRs, we'll be introducing a BJFR reaction, which will have either myself or Scott reacting to the Blue Jays' wins or losses during the postseason run. But that is coming down the road. That will take place as the hockey season begins and will run for however long the Blue Jays remain in the postseason. Blue Jays game recap will return on Sports for Beginners only at the final game of the 4-game series between the Tampa Bay Rays and the Toronto Blue Jays, which is currently in Game 2, which is underway right now. Game 3 is tomorrow, and it is, of course, Jose Barrios on the mound against... Who is he against? Let me just get over the matchup here for you. Who it is. It is Ryan Pepoy getting the start for Tampa Bay in game number 2. Game 3 is tomorrow, I believe, and then game 4 will follow afterwards, with the Blue Jays getting ready to take on the Kansas City Royals in Kauffman Stadium. We'll have all 3 games on Sports for Beginners as Blue Jay game recap wraps up for the regular season, and it's sure to be a good one, so keep in touch with us. I also mentioned that on the next edition of On the Ice and Behind the Benches episode-wise for our Season 2, we will have a look at the NHL Eastern Conference Division. The Atlantic Division will be the first one we talk about. We'll talk about what's going down in PWHL land, and we will talk about what's going on in the MLB. So, a lot to talk about there. I also mentioned that there will be details before the show is up on what games will be covered when the Penguins hit the ice and the NHL begins its next season. The 2024-2025 season is officially in the books, and now it is the 2025-2026 season kickoff, which training camp is just about a day away, which means we're into the preseason probably next week. We'll have season previews, take our Season 2 to its fullest on the Ice and Behind the Benches. But stay tuned for further updates on the Ice and Behind the Benches for what will happen with Season 2. It will be back in 1 day of December time during that midwinter break to wrap up Season 2 and prepare you for Season 3. As the season of the NHL rolls on, we will also have the return of PWHL Recap, which will take on its role that it did during the first season of the PWHL League, and that will be select teams up until the postseason when the Walter Cup is awarded, at which time we will do PWHL season and reviews covering all 8 teams, including Team Seattle and Team Vancouver. I'll be back on Sports for Beginners for a Dolphins season and review on Sports for Beginners only when the off-season for Dolphins football begins to take flight. When that does happen, tune in to Sports for Beginners because you're not going to want to miss what I have to say about this entire season for the Dolphins. But that's weeks ahead. Next week is Buffalo in week number 3. The Jets are the following week. For the Steelers, it's the Patriots. So that's something to look forward to down the road. Sports for Beginners update. Blue Jays weekly recap will cover that road series and the final homestand of 25 MLB season for the Blue Jays amidst the final homestand finale of the 2025 regular season in MLB. Who will be in and who will be eliminated in the MLB playoffs? By then, stay tuned to all of Blue Jay game recaps from Kauffman Stadium and, of course, that 4-game series finale between the Tampa Bay Rays and the Toronto Blue Jays. We'll have those answers for you on those shows. For now, Dolphins Nation, Patriots Nation, let's eavesdrop on the Patriots and the Dolphins at Hard Rock Stadium. From outside Dolphins Post Game, I am Thomas McGregor. Please call me Thomas. Fins up, Fins Nation, and we'll see you after Buffalo and Miami do battle in a Thursday night showdown that I'm sure Thursday Night Football will have a lot to say about. Dolphins Postgame will be back following the game on the Ice and Behind the Benches and Sports for Beginners, but tune in to before they kick off, before those shows hit the airwaves and the game goes final. Have yourselves a great week, everyone. Fins up. Until next time, Dolphins fans. Bills, Dolphins. Next time on Dolphins Postgame. Sure to be a fun one.
thank you so much for listening to Sports for Beginners. If you would like to learn more about the show, you can visit the podcast Facebook page or visit the official website. You can also send us an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. As we always remind you, it is not goodbye, it is until next time.